It's now my honor to introduce you to our keynote speaker, Frank Williams.
Thank you. I am as excited as you are to be here. I am honored to have been asked by President de Blasio to come and share with you for a few minutes. Normally, when I speak to people, because I have that Baptist in me, Baptist people tend to go on, and you could go to the bathroom 2 or 3 times and would still be speaking. But I wanted to give my wife a shout out. Her name is Ann Williams. I'm here because she brought me here from Mississippi. So raise your hand, Ann. My wife, we went to a small HBCU in Mississippi, and she got a job at that time, General Foods, and I didn't have a job. So what was I going to do? Right? I'm following her because I think she knew that the future was going to be well being here in New York. But I want to thank our President Mary Beth, members of the Board of Trustees, faculty, parents, family members, and most importantly, you young people. Now, it's kind of quiet in this room. I go to a lot of events and places, and this is really quiet, so I'm going to ask everyone to please stand. Just stand for a moment. All right. Yeah, I need you to stand because I want you to feel the passion, the energy, and the inspiration that I feel. You may be seated. You may be seated. Come on. I want you to feel the passion, the inspiration that I feel being with you. As I was coming into this facility this morning, and perhaps many of you too, I walked up to a man. His name was Dougal. And Dougal, I introduced myself, and he had something unique and different about him. I introduced myself to him, and he told me who he was. And he told me a little bit about himself. And he was out front carrying bags into the hotel. And can you imagine? Take a picture and look at that scenario. He's bringing in people's bags, and here you are, great young people with a bright future. He's bringing bags in, serving people, and you're stepping into greatness. And yet, his future has been defined by him and others based on lack of opportunity. You have opportunity. He did not have opportunity. But here he is in this environment, and I asked him, what would you say to these 2022 graduates? As my mother and my grandmother and my ancestors said to me, because they were denied opportunity and access, what they poured into me, like your parents and great-grandparents and your ancestors are saying to you and have said to you, Mr. Dougal said to me, Mr. Williams, tell them to be best. Now, he's not looking into this room, but I wanted you to hear his message and his short story that he shared to me to tell you. He wants you to not let this be an ending of your story. He wants you to continue to write your story by being great. Now, you know, there are a lot of people who live and work and they go to jobs and they're not looking for a lot out of life. But there are people like you who have worked hard and are here today and are looking for a better day. I want you to know, no matter what anybody tells you, whether it's ugly or bad or sad, that you are awesome. Now, what is awesome? To me, awesome is being magnificent. It's being spectacular. And I want you to mark this day. Mark this date. Take photos, write it down, 48 years of my experience has come and gone, but I remember my graduation day. There was one moment in my graduation day that marks my life. As has been noted, I grew up in Mississippi. And back in the day, Mississippi was not, well, kind of hard. My grandmother came to my graduation. That's what I remember. I don't remember the speaker. I don't remember anything else. But I remember my grandmother. My grandmother picked cotton, and she was a domestic worker. She cleaned people's homes. She did not have the opportunity that I had, but that whole day was marked by the tears that flowed from her eyes. I will never forget her tears. And I want you to mark this day because you have parents and grandparents who've worked hard, who've borrowed money, who've invested in you that you might be better. And it is because of their investment in you that you will go on and be better tomorrow. And yes, you owe them. And you can never pay it back. I can never pay back my father who worked in a factory, or my mother who struggled and worked with Fannie Lou Hamer and Congressman John Lewis and worked when it was hot trying to get people to register to vote. But I can be great by virtue of serving others. And you've heard, we have 60 programs in White Plains for young people. We serve 2,000 kids a day. I know that the people in my life, many of them have come and gone. But my mark in my life is through the tears of my grandmother. It's through the efforts of my mom and dad. It is through my grandparents. It's through my church family. It's because of those who labored before me that I stand on their shoulders. And I will never forget, right? I will never forget what they did for me. And I want you to never forget this day. In a few minutes, this day will be gone. And then for you, it becomes what's next. But what you have is a degree from the College of Westchester. Give a hand, yes, give a hand. You have a degree from the College of Westchester. Thank God for that. Can I get an amen? Amen. All right. This sounds like that Baptist church I go to every Sunday. I'm beginning to feel the Spirit in this place. But I wanted to say, we take so much for granted. And I know I work with a lot of people. I work with mayors and legislators, and I work with a lot of people. But I want you to know that you have to be great. A lot of stuff is going on in the world. You all know what happened last night. You know what happened in Texas. You know what happened in Buffalo. You know what happens in cities across our country every day. In New York and Chicago and St. Louis and in New Orleans. We read it in the paper. We see it on the news. You know that there is darkness in our world. So I want to put this out there to you. Be a vote. Be a heart. Be light. Be a hand. Be encouraged. Be the change. Be a door. Be a neighbor. Be a friend. 35 young people a few years ago I was working with, and I asked these young people, how many of you know someone who's locked up in prison? And all of the hands went up. How many of you know someone who's on drugs? And all of the hands went up. And they were all young African-American boys, elementary and middle school. And I was running a group. I am a social worker by heart. And I asked them, how many of you have a father in your life? And only a handful of these young men had a dad. And I asked them, why are you here? What brings you here? What's your purpose? What do you want? True story. These young men said to me, Mr. Williams, we are depending on you because you're all we got. Can you imagine how I felt when these young boys who looked like me said that? Not having a father, not having someone to hold their hand or take them to the park or ride a bike. Well, that sealed it for me, right? I've been doing this work at the City of White Plains Youth Bureau for 35 years. That sealed it for me because I recognize, as I want you to recognize, that I was obligated to stay with these young men. And I say to you, graduates, you are obligated to stay in the fight, to stay with your family, to stay with your wives, to stay with your moms and dads, to stay with your sisters and brothers. It is hard. It is difficult. But think again. If it's not you, then who? And I have this thing that I say, if it's to be, it is really up to me. And if it's to be, yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, you. Yeah, we're passing. Listen, I realize I'm saying to myself, can I really be 70 years of age this year already? Where did the time go? I don't know. But I wouldn't trade anything for my journey. I wouldn't. I know that those who gave me to give to you. I've noted that this is an awesome day in the city of White Plains, down at Renaissance Plaza. I don't know if you've been there, but there's a sculpture of Harriet Tubman. Has anyone seen that sculpture? Come on, people, you got to go. You got to go. You all know who Harriet Tubman was, right? Come on. We stand on Harriet's wings. Harriet Tubman was she's known as being the mother of the Underground Railroad. This year is the 200th anniversary of Harriet Tubman. And one of the quotes I like that embodies me, she said that if you hear the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If they're shouting after you, keep going. Don't ever stop. Keep going. If you want a taste of freedom, keep going. And I'm saying to you, graduates, don't stop. Keep going. Keep moving. Keep working. Keep caring. Keep loving. Keep doing. The College of Westchester has given you wings to fly. The scripture that says, as a person thinks, so is he or she. You have wings, you just don't know that you have wings. You have wings to fly, and you can go anywhere you want to go. There's nothing that is impossible for you. Be a bridge, be a pathway so that others can follow. Our country seeks people like you. Our state of New York seeks people like you. We want to make things better. We want you to be a change agent. We want you to build futures. We need trailblazers and pioneers. I love that caption on Star Trek. You know, at the opening of Star Trek, if you watch, I'm a Star Trek fanatic. You know Star Trek, right? You know the caption when they're in the spaceship Enterprise and they're going out into the universe and they're going to a place that they've never been before. And that's what life is for you. You're going to places and cities and towns and communities, and you're traveling all over the world. You may not have been there before, but you're going. And you're going perhaps to have a good time. But remember, your life is with a cause. And that life is to make a difference, to make things better. And I say to you, keep going. As Harriet Tubman said, keep moving. Yeah, I know, you got your degree, and with that degree, you think you're going to make a lot of money. How many people want to make a lot of money? Raise your hand. Listen, I don't want you to be ruled by money. It's important to make money, but not only strive to make money, but better yet, strive to make a difference. I had a I had a billionaire to come in my office one day. How many of you ever met a billionaire? Anybody? He walked in my office. And this really has to do with legacy. Legacy. Your legacy. Your legacy. And the billionaire came to, and true story, came into my office. Now, how does a billionaire look? I never had a picture of a billionaire except for the folk I saw on TV and all of that. But this is what he said to me. He said, Frank, I've heard about you. He didn't drive a big fancy car. He didn't have a $1,000 suit on. He looked just average, right? He said, but I heard about you. I heard your name. And he's this 2 words. This is what he said. There is nothing you can do for me, but there is something I can do for you. And I was a little perplexed. So he wanted me to be involved in a project. And because I stepped out on faith, this billionaire poured into our agency. And the story really is all about character. It's about legacy. And Ms. Williams and I told Ms. Williams I had this conversation with my grandson who's 5 years of age, and we call him JB, and I said, JB, what's your legacy? And he said, Papa, what's a legacy? No, I said, JB, what's your legacy? What are you going to be? He said, Papa, I don't understand. What's a legacy? So I had to sit down and tell him about his grandmother, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, his grandmother, because I wanted him to know about his story, his journey, and about the people in Mississippi who went before him, so that he knows where he came from and so that he has a sense of where he's going. And I say to you, young people today, keep going, but also as you're going, have a legacy. And I know that some of you have sons and daughters and you've worked hard and you've struggled, but have a legacy. Don't quit. Another story that I have, true story again. I met Dr. Wangari Maathai. Now, I don't know if you know about her, but she won the Nobel Peace Prize for saving the forest in Kenya. Strong black woman. She had a lot of enemies and some adversaries too. Can you imagine strong black woman fighting to keep the forest when people want to burn the trees down? And she fought a good fight. And she won a Nobel Peace Prize for that. And I want you to know that you've got to step out on your belief, even when people are against you, even when you don't have hope, even when you faint a little bit. You can't quit. You look at our world today, and you look at what's going on, and you're saying, well, who's going to solve the problem? And I'm saying to each and every one of you, you're going to solve the problem. The future belongs to every one of you. And if our country is going to be better, you have to be the fixer. You have to make the difference. You have to go to work every day. You have to go to these meetings. You have to speak truth to power. You have to change the scenario, the narrative that we live in. And you know, we're struggling with all of this. We're struggling with race relationships. We're struggling with our gender. We're struggling with our politics. We're conflicted every way. But you are all our hope. And Dr. Maathai told this story. She said there was a fire in the forest one day. And the elephants and the hippopotamus and the monkeys, they ran for the fire. And this little hummingbird went to the river to get water. And the hummingbird put the water on the fire, which was ferocious. And the tiger and the lion and the giraffe asked the hummingbird, what are you doing? And the hummingbird flew even faster to get water to put out the fire. And that hummingbird kept going to the river to put out the fire. Well, this morning, our 2022 graduates, you are hummingbirds. Go put out the fire.